Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for the Public Service Commission to vote on and support HB 284. Thank you.
Is there a second? Well, I'll second just to have the discussion. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Can you tell us what HB 284 is, Commissioner Panoche?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have a message here from Jerry Scherlinger, the bill's sponsor, representative inside my district. He said this bill will allow the PSC to give utility providers some assurance that their new sources of production or transmission will likely be allowed into their rate base for rate recovery when it comes online. This will enable the provider more access to capital and also provide greater price and supply stability for the energy consumers. So I support getting this out in the open to talk about, and would certainly support a friendly amendment if there's an issue we need to work out with Representative Scherlinger on improving this bill. I was there during the testimony given, and there was a large amount of support. And I'd like to remind everybody that Mr. Scherlinger's district had power shut off on purpose during the Texas outage and brought that up. And I think that the ratepayers feel that if there is more energy being produced in Montana, there's a better chance of their rates coming down. I support this and support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Panoche. Questions or discussion on this legislation? Vice President Fielder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I suppose I would like, well, our legal counsel is here and we have our president here as well. I'd just like a little bit of guidance on, given that there's litigation on this subject matter, whether it would be advisable for the commission to render, support or opposition to this bill.
Mr. President and Vice President, it's an interesting question. You'll recall that at present, the litigation concerning the pre-approval statute, which is what this bill would address, is currently pending in front of the Montana Supreme Court. The basis for the declaration earlier, the district court's declaration, was that the law was effectively a special franchise and privilege. It was a law tailored to exactly one party and one party alone, was therefore unconstitutional. My understanding of this bill is that it endeavors to effectively moot that litigation by removing that uniqueness of the statute, that it would only apply to one party. The state of Montana is still currently participating in that proceeding, defending the statute as it is currently written. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any reason why a formal position on this bill would affect the litigation position of the state of Montana, notwithstanding the fact that the commission is not participating in that litigation anymore. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Additional discussion, Commissioner O'Donnell?
Well, for what we know from what Will has put together on this bill, it seems to me that this is quite a reasonable approach to the subject, and as long as there is no repercussions on the case in front of the court now, I think that this would be appropriate for the commission to adopt it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner O'Donnell. So just clarifying question for you, Commissioner Panoche. So your motion is to have the commission support House Bill 280.
Yes, Mr. President, that's exactly what I asked for.
Okay. Additional discussion? All right, I'm going to weigh in this. I am going to oppose this motion, Commissioner Panoche, graciously. And certainly this is no affront to Representative Schellinger, who I like very much. I just believe it's in the best interest of this agency and appropriate with our regulatory mission to not weigh in on this legislation. And my general thinking on that is that should this legislation pass, we will be asked to apply it. And I don't want to have the commission be put in a position where we are applying a law that, and we've done this in the past, certainly as a commission, but in this case, applying a law that we supported at the legislature. I think it puts the commission in a bad position for public perception purposes when acting on a pre-approval application. I think it's better if the commission just stays in a neutral position on this and lets the legislature decides the merits of the public policy in this matter. So I will be opposing. Additional discussion. Commissioner Panoche.
The ratepayer is looking for us to support lower cost. I believe that House Bill 284 supports that possibility. So is there an amendment could be made to work with the bill sponsor that might put us in a better position to support the bill? Any thoughts on that from anyone?
Rosequist, do you want to take a stab at that? You're certainly authorized to decline to comment if you.
Mr. President, I guess I would just note that the amendments, the bill itself is very simple and straightforward and accomplishes the objective, which is to expand the scope so that pre-approval applies to more than one utility. So I think the issue of whether this current statute on pre-approval is in the ratepayer's best interest is a much larger conversation that probably we couldn't have at this point in time.
Commissioner Bukacek.
Based on what you were saying about the future, I think it would be very difficult to avoid this appearing as a conflict of interest. So I would vote against it.
Vice President Fielder.
Mr. President, unfortunately, I'm tilting that way as well. I appreciate Commissioner Panoche's motion and Representative Schillinger's effort here. I think it will be helpful for the legislature to address this because I noticed it quite a while ago when I was in the legislature. This did not seem like proper statute because it did specifically have sideboards in it that made it applicable to just one company in Montana. And so I'm glad to see the legislature attempting to address this. I have a feeling they'll be able to address it without us weighing in on it. And I think it's probably advisable for us to stay on the sidelines on this one at this point, especially.
Mr. Hamilton, did you want to weigh in?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just I would encourage the commission to be careful about statements about the current law that is under the district court's order invalid, just because that is currently pending and the state is still trying to defend that law.
Here. Commissioner Nochi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for Lucas Hamilton. Should I tell the representative that this is a conflict of interest? Or is it not a conflict of interest to support this bill?
Mr. President, Commissioner Panoche, I think that there's a respectful disagreement on the commission right now about the appearance of the commission going in to support or oppose or take any position necessarily on this bill. So I would leave it to the commission to decide what the most appropriate tact is here.
Follow up.
Commissioner Bernocchi,
I don't believe it's a conflict of interest.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
So I just wanted to clarify that the motion is to support, to have the commission support this bill. Should this fail, it doesn't mean that we oppose the bill, just that we have declined to take a position on the bill. And so I think in that regard that I still favor the motion. It seems to me that the pre-approval process is healthy for ratepayers and gives certainty to all parties in the process. And I appreciate the author of the bill to directly confront the reason that the court declared it to be unconstitutional. A very, very simple fix on this. So I still support it, but I just wanted to point out that this does not, if the motion fails, as seems to be, that this would indicate any lack of support for the bill itself, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Correct. I echo the sentiments you made. The position of the commission right now is to not have a position on the bill. And so if this motion fails, that would be the default position of the commission. All right, I think this has been discussed. So I'm going to suggest we do a roll call vote on this. Are you ready, Patricia? All right, Vice President Fielder,
No.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pinochi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukacek,
No,
and I am a no. Motion fails on a 3-2 vote.